Good morning, everybody. Let's bring in from India, Narendra Taneja, India's leading energy expert. Narendra, the news out of Asia in recent weeks has been very much glass half empty, particularly China looking an uncertain player at the moment. But then we see that's changed this week a little bit. We saw out of China getting the COVID outbreak under control, India reporting very positive data numbers from travel, internal travel, external travel, and so forth. What is the case in India at this point now, end of the summer? Has India got on top of this COVID outbreak?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we closely watch what happens on the other side of the Himalayas, that is China. But on this side of the Himalayas, there's India. And when you look at the energy landscape, it looks pretty encouraging in the sense that offices have reopened. People are in good mood, like in New Delhi, where I live. Cases are down to just about 18 yesterday, which is extremely encouraging. And so, which means we started going out to restaurants, to hotels, and started flying, and started meeting, inviting people over to our offices, and so on and so forth. So it's almost back to normal, which is extremely encouraging. That also reflects, if you look at, for instance, the sale of petrol, the last 15 days in particular, the sales are up 3.8% compared to the pre-pandemic quarter, which is very, very, very encouraging. Diesel is also doing very well, still struggling in terms of if you compare with pre-pandemic quarter, but doing fine in the sense that the sales are picking up very, very fast. So overall, when you look at the picture, power consumption, diesel consumption, petrol consumption, solar power consumption, the picture is pretty encouraging, I would say. And therefore, when we look at the landscape in 2 to 3 months from now, it looks like that things are going to look even more better, because we have already vaccinated close to 600 million people. And day before yesterday, we vaccinated 8 million people in one day. So that's a kind of world record. And the fact that we produce our own vaccine, manufacture our own vaccine, is a tremendous, tremendous help. So our sense is that probably there might still be kind of a third wave, so-called third wave, but the country is very well prepared, businesses are prepared, energy sector is well prepared. So even if it comes, we expect that, probably it will be more manageable. So it looks like coming 2-3 months, things will start getting better. But as I said, this coronavirus is a kind of creature you can't predict. So we still keep our fingers crossed. But while the fingers are crossed, we have started flying.
Narendra, the big story over the last week, the tragic developments in Afghanistan, sitting in Delhi, sitting in India. What is the perspective of the fallout from Afghanistan, and how significant do you think the ramifications may be?
Well, Afghanistan has been an extremely, extremely, serious development in our part of the world. As you know, when you look at the map and the geopolitical parking of Afghanistan, it's like a junction that connects South Asia with the Middle East on the one hand, and South Asia with the Central Asia on the other. And all these Central Asia, Middle East, very important for us in terms of energy production. And when South Asia, one of the major markets in the world. So therefore, what happens in Afghanistan may not reflect in oil prices now, but if Afghanistan situation gets out of the control and Afghanistan goes up in flames, this one way or another, it is going to have an impact on oil prices and overall oil and gas geopolitical landscape, which will start manifesting, reflecting in terms of prices time to come. Because you see, our fear is that Afghanistan will be back to, their DNA hasn't changed. They're the same people, the same mindset, which means that, very soon they will allow sanctuaries to organizations, like ISIS, and, there's so many of them, and there probably will be new ones which will come up there because they provide the right ecosystem and the support system there. So our worry is that maybe 5-6 months may look fine because they are investing a lot in terms of the right communication, speaking the right language, probably helped by some people from outside Afghanistan. But the problem is that, once 6 months they settle, They will be back to their normal self. And that means the whole area, which is so critically important when it comes to energy, will basically we start looking the same, which means many sanctuaries, universities training these people and exporting terror. And when you start exporting, the nearest geographies are in the Middle East and Central Asia, of course, India and several other countries. So when you look at this, when you take a realistic view, which we do from New Delhi because they're just next door, let's not forget Afghanistan. Big parts of Afghanistan used to be part of India 2,000 years ago. It was just India. It was all India. And even the biggest mountain there is still called Hindu Kush for whatever, the historical reasons. Now, the point here is that, our worry is that we wish the best. We hope democracy will succeed. But when we look at the landscape realistically, serious worries about what's going to happen in about 2 years from now, and the implications and of course ramification for all those people who are and the players who are in the energy sector, particularly oil and gas.
But of course, this was not obviously it at the last minute it became a shock to everybody watching. But ultimately, this has been flagged for some time that the Americans were going to pull out of Afghanistan. I'm wondering, Narendra, as we have here in the Middle East been struggling to read the tea leaves and accommodate sort of an American withdrawal from the Middle East over the last 10 years, or at least the impression that America is stepping back from a front foot position in the Middle East, it now might appear that America are pulling back from, obviously they're definitely pulling back from Afghanistan, but ultimately leaving the problem to the players in that region, including India, Pakistan, China. This is your problem now. What does that imply? What does that sort of leave behind the idea that now Central Asia are going to have to deal with the same concept of America withdrawing, the policeman is going away?
Well, a very good question and good take. This is what exactly worries us. We all know that the U.S. is going to pull out of Afghanistan sooner or later. I mean, they've been talking as of day. But what we didn't know, let's say in New Delhi or many democracies in Asia, that democracy infrastructure that they've been building the past 20 years was so weak. We didn't know that. I mean, the Parliament House in Kabul was built by India. That is a building that we paid for it, we built it, hoping that democracy has come to stay there. And we thought that American intelligence was smart, among the best in the world. And so now we realize all that they did last 20 years, the great United States of America was all fake. Imagine it came down just like, House of Cards. And so that's our worry. So on the one hand, America pulling out of Afghanistan, creating this huge vacuum. At the same time, America's image as a superpower, as a country that has strength, that has economic power, that has military power to do something effectively in any part of the world, that has suffered a serious jolt. Now it has become a joke, to be very honest with you. Now the point is that if they do the same in the Middle East, or if their appetite to play an effective role in the Middle East goes the Afghanistan way, what will happen in the Middle East? Middle East, we don't think we don't think they're prepared yet. For instance, to deal with a kind of vacuum that almost looks like on the horizon. China won't be acceptable, and China is not the United States. Russia is a very weak economy, much smaller than even India. Now, the point is, if that vacuum comes and they're not prepared, they're too busy either selling oil or enjoying good life in southern France and Switzerland, with all due respect to them, because there are many people who are working very hard on the ground in the Middle East. But that's the kind of image people have. Now, what would happen to that? Of course, that's an area of tremendous worry for India, because if we see this kind of vacuum and geopolitical vacuum, and therefore kind of chaos in the Middle East, which is a critical region for us in terms of oil and gas, and also otherwise, also in terms of market. We have 8 million people, Indian origin people, living there. So it really is giving us sleepless night. The U.S. under Biden administration, the U.S. as a whole, must reconsider. When you are what you are, a big country, a big economy, the so-called superpower, you just can't say, look, we are not interested. We are not really interested what happens in the Middle East. They must stay put in the Middle East. They must strengthen their forces in the Middle East, and they must tie up with other democracies like Japan, like Australia, like India, to make sure that the Middle East does not go the Afghanistan way. If that happens, the entire world will have to pay the price. Only one country will be responsible for that, and that's the U.S.
Yeah, that is a red flag of warning there. Clearly, this is an issue that we're all going to have to sort of keep watching and interpreting, because it is a trend line as such over many years now. It isn't just a singular moment. Narendra, what does it mean for India? Inevitably, we started our conversation earlier this year with India forecasted to have a whopping sort of 10% growth in the next fiscal cycle. What's that outlook look like now, and would a tapering be healthy to sort of calm things down a little bit?
Well, I clicked on number three, as you can see. I mean, if not 10%, we'll probably be in the region of 9%, maybe 8.7% and 9.2% in that region, which is pretty okay, because as I said earlier, the overall sentiments are very good. But at the same time, we realize that pictures in some other parts of the Indo-Pacific and Asia regions, it seems to be a little bit hazy. For instance, China. I mean, reports that we have from China is that the problem is with the vaccine. Vaccine is not effective enough. That's why all these problems in China, and especially in the countryside and in other parts of the world, the quality of vaccine. Probably China should admit and go and seek vaccines from the West or from India. They must admit the vaccine is just not good enough. So I think and some other countries also imported vaccine from China in Asia are facing the same kind of haze. So we think that in Asia there is a kind of it is all one way or another actually linked to the quality of vaccine. So it's a new debate. Not vaccine is not enough, the quality of vaccine. So I think that will have the reflection on what happens overall. If China is not doing well and some other geographies, economy is not doing well, of course it will have effect on India's economy as well. We live in a very independent, interdependent world. But my sense is that since India's GDP is largely driven by domestic demand, so we are going to see probably a better picture. India, by over the coming months, is probably going to look much better, much more healthier economically than we thought even 6 months ago. And that's, as I said, the overall sentiment is pretty good. But as I said earlier, that we are vaccinating millions every day, insisting on one thing, that wear your mask and go back to the normal business. But keep in mind, keep your fingers crossed, because this creature is unpredictable. But my sense is that by Christmas, we will have roughly 80% people at least with one dose all around the country. And that will probably help us to boost economy. And because the best cure you have, the best stimulus that we can give to our economy in India is vaccine. And that's the government focus. So 85%.
What is the dominant vaccine? What is the dominant vaccine you're using in India?
Good question. You see, dominant, I would say, is Oxford, AstraZeneca, which we manufacture in India, and supported by Covaxin, which is developed 100% in India, which we are also exporting to, among other countries, Iran. And then we also have now 2 more candidates. They just got the license. So in total, we have got now 5 vaccines. Out of these 5, we also have Pfizer coming in, Moderna coming in. We have opened the door. So whosoever now Sputnik is doing very well in India. We started manufacturing Sputnik also in India. So the government target by March 2022, every single Indian would be vaccinated, fully vaccinated. And we think that's the best stimulus, best strategy to make sure our economy fully recovered and is back to normal.